Hey, my name is Zeus Tipado, a writer for Healing Maps, and let's talk about the neuroscience behind the stoned ape theory. Terence McKenna said a lot of wild stuff, but his idea that humans evolved partially due to eating psychedelics always stuck with me when I was a kid. Some people call it the stoned ape theory, which, just putting it out there, is a horrible name. However, the idea is pretty dope. The theory is that primates, early humans, migrated to areas rich in psilocybin mushrooms. We ate them over many generations and it made our brain expand, which led to art, culture, language, basically all the good stuff that makes us human. So, was he right? Maybe. The brain is separated into three parts: the hindbrain, the midbrain, and the forebrain. The hindbrain, also called the proto-reptilian brain, sounds scary, but it's the oldest part of our brain. It evolved before all the other parts. The hindbrain is reserved for automated tasks like breathing, heart rate. In most animals, the complexity of the brain ends here. But humans, we're special little snowflakes. We evolved other parts like the midbrain for things like temperature regulation and voluntary movement. The midbrain is great, but still pretty basic. Now the forebrain, that put humans on the evolutionary map. It's everything that you usually associate with the brain, the gooey wrinkles on top, which is the cerebral cortex, and all the cortical regions. This is where the action happens. The forebrain is where the most complex human actions take place. Einstein's theory of relativity came from the forebrain. You getting that incredibly sick headshot in Halo? Forebrain. Artistic expression, your tweets, even the bad ones, that's all forebrain. The forebrain is also made up of the limbic system, which is the amygdala, cingulate cortex, hippocampus, and other subcortical regions. The thalamus is also part of the forebrain, which is in between the cerebral cortex and the midbrain. And if you read my work, then you definitely know these parts. They're your friends, and they live inside your head. Psychedelics does some pretty interesting things to the limbic system. In fact, much of psychedelic neuroscience focuses on the interaction that serotonergic agonists, otherwise known as classical psychedelics, have with these areas because it's so wild. We know this activity is taking place because after taking psychedelics, cerebral blood flow, or CBF, is bonkers in the forebrain. Blood rich in oxygen flows in these areas in such interesting ways. It's a process that we're still trying to figure out. Fortunately, we have something called blood oxygen level dependent neuroimaging, or BOLD, to help us with this process. So Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory comes down to three things. Number one, psychedelics induce our forebrain to distribute oxygenated blood, which over many generations would result in an evolutionary change or increase in the forebrain, and that change would reflect in an increase in higher brain function. Sounds simple enough, but how would this evolutionary development of the forebrain happen, and how would it increase? That's the part of the theory that's a little sketchy. Is it the repeated exposure to blood rich in oxygen that would increase the size of our brain? Or maybe it's the long-term potentiation, which is basically synapses firing together while we're on psychedelics, that over a very long period of time would lead to stronger pathways in neurobiology better suited for these pathways. It's a good theory, but we just don't know enough about the brain to pin anything on it. Read Food of the Gods if you want to know a little bit more about the anthropological aspect of this theory. Actually, read all of McKenna's stuff, because that guy is a straight up legend.